Good evening, India. How are you all doing today? We're almost at the end of the 2020. Can you all get on chat and give me a yay and woo, and we'll start with the event? Can you all hear me? Wonderful, wonderful. So, we're at the end of the year, and we're in India. We're about to start the festival celebrations of the Festival of Light, Diwali. And we at Women in Cloud and SHEROES are very excited for the year to end and the next year to begin in terms of accomplishments and festivities. I'm Vibha Parike, PR and Communications Lead at Women in Cloud. I'm so excited to see all of you come out and join us in making India a major part of the economic access movement in the technology industry. On behalf of Women in Cloud and SHEROES, I would like to welcome everybody to the golden opportunity in India no one is talking about live session. Today, we have an exciting event lined up for you where the speakers will highlight the corporate involvement in creating inclusive economy, policy advancement, and entrepreneurship advancement in enterprise market in India. The intention for today's event is for you to meet all the powerful women in technology and we have chosen a platform that will allow you to personally connect with them. It is extremely simple with Remo, as you all might have just experienced. All you have to do is double click on a table and switch on your mic and camera, and you can connect with them instantly. What I would like all of you to do is take time to engage with each other, learn how to engage through the chat, and actively participate in social media to show how powerful the Indian community is. I would like to take a moment to thank our partners and sponsors for today's event: Microsoft, Boeing, M12, the Microsoft Venture Fund, SHEROES, Furbinden, and Mela Corporation. It would not have been possible without their support, so thank you. Now, before we get started, I want to take a moment to get some conversation going in the chat box. So now, using the chat box, could you all please answer two questions that I have? One, where are you joining us from? And second, what's your favorite places of all the places you've traveled to? I want to see some answers. But first, I would like to tell about myself. I'm Vibha. I'm from Bangalore. And I think the favorite place my favorite place that I have traveled so far is Hong Kong. We have so many people. We have Priya joining from Pune, and apparently her favorite place is Norway. We have Sonal from Chicago. We have Ila from Punjab, Divya from Srikakulam. We have Aruna from Bangalore, and apparently her favorite place is Ladakh. And we have Tanvi from Bombay. Wonderful. Keep it going. So, it's such a pleasure to have you all here, and I'm very glad to see the chat is excited. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Sairi Chahal, the founder and CEO of SHEROES, the world's largest women-only social media platform. Sairi is a serial entrepreneur and is credited with building the women's internet conversation in India, making a strong technology play to solve the problem of gender disparity in India. Ladies and gentlemen, your host and moderator for the evening, Sairi Chahal. Please give a big round of applause for her in the chat, everyone.
All right. Thank you so much, Vibha. I'm hoping this is working. And if you can hear me, why don't you tell me in the chat box? All right, wonderful. So excited to see so many folks here. Lots of folks I know and lots of folks I am looking forward to know. And, I just want to set the tone for this evening with two thoughts that have been on my mind. One is, of course, I think if there's one thing this year has taught us, that we are all connected, and we can't be more connected than this, I think. And clearly, I think this room is so diverse that if we try to do this in the offline world, it would be totally different, So clearly, there are some blessings in disguise. And second is, I think we are here to talk about something that I find is universal, uh, which is advancement of women's places in the society. And irrespective of what lens or what filter we apply, I think this is something that connects everyone in this room. And as some of you know, Sheroes, and as somebody who's been part of the conversation, who's committed to the idea of using technology towards women, this is really, the best thing for me to, to do with my time. And I think they say universe keeps conspiring. And I think a couple of months ago, I happened to meet Vibha through a friend who I hadn't spoken with like in 10 years. But the second person he connected me to immediately after speaking was Vibha, was Chaitra. And I had a small chat with her on WhatsApp, and I think we connected there on. And here we are launching the Women in Cloud India partnership, but also, looking forward to a journey that enables a lot more women to benefit from collaborations. And just before coming here, I tweeted that I get asked a lot of times whether how do you raise money, how do you network, how do you up your game? And I think one of the biggest enablers of all of that is the size of the market. And everybody knows that we are sitting in India, which is one of the fastest growing technology markets in the world. We are a country of 1.2 billion people, but also a country of 650 million women, but also just 1.3 million women who are in tech. And that's the opportunity. And when I say tech, it's not just people who are building tech. Every business is a tech business because our brass stack is tech, our business backend is tech. We all run on servers, right? And we all are building for consumers who are on tech. So I think in some ways we are all women in tech, and to me that's really exciting, and that's also the largest opportunity. But there's another aspect of this opportunity which is hardly spoken of, is the size of enterprise business that women get. Whether the size of enterprise contracts that women make. And to us, that conversation is really, really special. And that's one of the things that I care about a lot, and I think Chaitra cares about a lot. And that's the common thing that brought us together. And I'm really delighted that we are here looking at an opportunity which is unprecedented, because India has seen a big leapfrog. COVID has accelerated adoption of technology in every which way. So every business is going to own a website. Every business is going to be on an app. Every business is going to use digital payments. Every business is going to use server technology. Every business is going to need cyber security. And when I think of that, I'm not talking about 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 businesses. I'm talking about millions of businesses. And my hope is that out of those millions of businesses, women have a fair share. We have a stake to the ground, and we are able to put our names on the digital footprint. And that's what is really, really exciting in terms of the opportunity that lies, in front of us. And I feel very, very lucky that these things happen. These are absolutely serendipitous encounters, and here we are, I think, and I when I was looking at the attendee list, I saw so many women entrepreneurs, so many women who are building something. And this is what I want everyone to sort of think of. This is an opportunity, of 100 people who are in the room today, go out and meet at least 5 new people, because they are potential customers, the potential investors, the potential mentors, they are potential sponsors, and more so they're going to root for you, and they're going to open doors for you never thought could open. And I'm a living example of somebody who's built a career totally on relying on goodwill of people you meet along the journey. And I think if this can happen for me, it can happen for everyone. And, when Chaitra and I spoke for the first time, this is one of the things that we connected on deeply, because we've had rich careers, but we've also been very lucky in terms of how people helped us along the way, and how our friends and sponsors and mentors set up for success. So this is also a paid forward, but more than that, this is really a rooting call for all women in the room and outside the room, and those who are in the room, please take it outside the room to say, hey, we need more women who are going to succeed. We need more women to build businesses. We need more women to experiment, and we need more women to build businesses they care for and they want to grow big. And of course, it's my pleasure and honor to bring Chaitra, who is a co-conspirator, partner in crime, and also a woman after my own heart. I'm so lucky to have met her. So Chaitra, over to you. And of course, tell us all about how you got into this, and tell us your view about today's evening.
Thank you, Saidi. Thank you so much. Such a warm welcome. Pretty excited. Are you all excited to be here today? Say yes or no. Perfect. So first is I want to start personally. What is the mithai cooking in your house for Diwali? Any special mithais? I'm trying to make balusha this weekend, so hopefully I will be good at it. So let's get started. Just a little bit about me. I run two companies. One is a tech company, and the second one is I'm so passionate about Women in Cloud, which is really creating $1 billion in economic access for women tech entrepreneurs. My superpower is definitely building technology solutions and also kind of helping the community to really focus on driving the access that we look for. So let me talk about why we are all here, right? And why are we going? Personally, as an entrepreneur, I left the corporate world and joined the entrepreneurship world. And as I was building the company, I realized that how lonely I was. There was no support systems in place when you actually wanted to build as an enterprise, enterprise contracts. So being the, I would say the strategic mind you have and the way you want to think about, I started digging and doing more research. What we found was, is my voice echoing? Is that what it is? Is it okay? Okay, so what we realized was there was less than 2% of women entrepreneurs were actually getting the enterprise opportunity. Less than 2% of the women tech entrepreneurs are even getting access to tech. And then if you keep going down, it's like 2%, 1%. It was really pretty painful. So that's when what I did was started researching what are all the communities doing, because in the state of Washington, where I come from, I live near Seattle, we started looking at what is happening in the market, the tech industry. So started to look, there's a lot of educational programs that exist. We have Girls Who Code, we have Digi Girls, and we have Anita B.org. So there were a lot of things around focused on education. The second piece, there was a lot of community building also happening. But what was missing is I would say the business building, which is the economic development, was completely missing for women tech entrepreneurs in the tech industry. So we didn't have the right support system. We didn't have the right access to customers, didn't have access to the corporate companies, or I would say the brands that power the cloud infrastructure. So that's when we found out that we have to really do something for women specifically and really close the gender parity in the technology solution building. So that is what drove to building Women in Cloud. It was designed on a piece of napkin with a few of my friends. And we said, we want to build an organization, an economic development organization, which is community-led, with the audacious goal to create $1 billion in net new access for women tech entrepreneurs by 2030 by partnering with corporations, partnering with community leaders, and also policymakers. And we do three things. The first one is community building. What we really do is focus on creating access to the network of people through our events, through programs, and also our digital network. How many of you are in the digital network? It's pretty active. We engage, we help each other. So if you're not, I would like all of you to join. Second is we also focus on a lot around the public policy advancement. We work with a lot of the policymakers in the US to really unlock the procurement vehicles, because there's a lot of language bias that happens in the contracting process. So it's very important for us to really tackle the systematic barriers that exist for women. And then the third one is the Cloud Accelerator. So we really focus a lot on building the readiness muscle that is required for any business to build your infrastructure, your sales, your marketing, and your product. All the things needs to be ready. So when you're in front of your enterprise customer, you're ready, and also you're ready to showcase your solution on the global stage. Because once your product is doing really well, the speed of how you get your customers is very, very fast. So Vibha, if you can go to the next slide. So when you look at the community, what we have done is we have taken a collective action, and we have worked with around 27 communities across the world to create the largest network of women who are working towards economic development. And what we focus on is, as an entrepreneur, you should be able to go through every network that we have, and you will be able to access specific communities, their customer ecosystem, I would say prospect customers, as well as engage with partners. You never know who you find. So SHEROES for me was like one of the anchor organization in India, so we could expand and provide a platform for women to build a tech business easily. The second one is we talked about was going to the next slide, Vibha. The second part we talked about was the legislative work. In the state of Washington, we actually did a legislative action to do a proclamation and really ask the entire Washington state to say enough is enough. We need to make sure we need to have equal access and equitable access for women to build business in the state of Washington. So the proclamation is done. Now we are working through a legislative action. The same work was also replicated in New York to really create the same impact. So we want India also to do it. I'm hoping with working with Aruna and working with SHEROES, we can do the same kind of impact and have equitable access. Then we also focus a lot of activities around the year for connecting the founders to investors, to the potential customers through multitude of programming. So we have our annual summit that's coming in January. And then we have like a lot of industry events we activate. We have a pitch challenge, and also we connect all the execs together. With regards to the Cloud Accelerator, which is the third portion, which is like the core programming, is we have strategically partnered with Microsoft to bring this accelerator for entrepreneurs so we can accelerate the enterprise growth. So in the last 10 years, the way the software is sold to an enterprise has changed significantly, and that particular knowledge is not available because the partnerships happen in the channel, which is the technology channel, and then it goes to the customer. If you're not connected in the channel, then you really don't know how to move your contracts faster and forward. I have Sonal here in the network today, so when you get a chance, go meet with her. She's also a Microsoft Gold partner, so you can connect with her. So in this particular programming, we have a very immersive education and focused on really understanding all the steps, and it's a 6-month immersive work and really focuses on learning the depth of how to do business in enterprise for women. Then we also have connecting with the executives in different corporate companies, so especially around the CDOs, which is the Chief Diversity Officer, Digital Officer, Chief Marketing Officer, CIO, the CTOs. These are and the Chief Revenue Officer. We want to make sure the entrepreneurs are connecting with them to really explain the solution and also drive the pilots in there. And then through this whole journey, Vibha, keep going next. So in this particular journey map, as an entrepreneur, you will be able to really go through that 6-month process to get yourself completely ready, so that when you are in front of the customer, you should not be stumbling, because you do need your go-to-market, you need your technical reference, you need to have your storyboarding, what your solution would do, what the impact would look like, pricing and licensing. Those are a lot of things you have to prepare for being in the enterprise market, and that education does not exist. And we want to make sure that particular learning is available for women, not only in US, but also in India, because India is the fastest growing market. Then the whole programming also has a self-learning syllabus, and it's early in the morning, so just be patient. So there's a self-learning syllabus that is available, so you can actually learn on your own, and then you have a network of community that helps you get you closer to the customer. The next slide, Vibha. So if you look at it, this is kind of a group of women. We come together on a regular basis. Right now with COVID, everything is turned into a digital academy, and we are working together as a community. So I want to bring one of the members on the stage. I'll have Nehal Mehta. She went through the graduating class of 2020. And I want all of you to hear what her journey was, because it helps you understand what it takes to get there and how you go about it. So Nehal, are you ready? There you go. I'm going to send her a notification so she can come on the stage.
Hi.
Hi, Nehal. How was your journey with the Cloud Accelerator?
It's like you can say that it's a game changing, because I joined this Women in Cloud in January in one of the competition. But after that, joining the acceleration, I very much clear about what I am selling. It bring out 3 more products that I am not able to figure out how I can sell. And currently that product is very much listed in a certified with a Microsoft, and listed in a Microsoft Azure App Gallery. Using in cloud acceleration journey, I learn how I can make my product complete, and how it's like a complete package, so I can sell it to my customer in easy to one-click solution. So that's amazing journey that I have.
And Nehal, did you find some friends along the way as you were going through the accelerator?
We have you can say community, like we have friends, and they are all helping me to get this product in help each other. We are helping each other when they are having some trouble. We help each other to get on board or get to the next steps. So it's like it's one community that we helping each other, and we have that bonding that I never had with other. And it's like when I'm feeling not good, they support me and encourage me to get back on a track.
Thank you, Nehal. Thank you so much for raising your hands and saying, I'm okay to speak today. So perfect. Thank you. So you can switch off the camera and the mic. That will be fantastic. So the last slide I have is, we are expanding in 8 countries. So India is one of the global expansion, I would say, the country that we have. Nehal, are you okay to get the camera off. Perfect. So when it comes to, when you think about the countries, we have very active right now in Canada. We are very active in US. We are working on South Africa and India right now. So that will be a pretty significant reach that we will be spending. So now what does that mean for what our Indian expansion looks like? So what we have is we are launching the Cloud Accelerator, which is available for the women tech entrepreneurs in India. Vibha, next slide. So what we are launching in India is really we want to make sure this particular programming is accessible for the Indian women tech founders. So the cohort number 5 is now open and it's launching in Feb of 2021. And it is really accessible for 10 to 15 companies. And there's a significant investment that is underwritten by Microsoft. So if you are interested to be part of it, I would recommend all of you to apply. I will share the link for all of you. The reason why you need to consider this one is, first, if you have a product in the B2B market, which is mid to enterprise market, and you want to be ready and you want to win your India market or the global market, then this particular programming will help you. This program does not help you when you're trying to go into the consumer market. It's not designed for that. Number 2, you also want to understand how to really build a very successful business in the tech channel. This one will allow you. And if you want to expand your own reach and your own support system so that you can be successful as you move as an entrepreneur, would be very, very important. That is when you consider the Cloud Accelerator. What we have seen is women, because when you're building a business, you're very lonely because there's more people pulling you down than pushing you up. But this community is built with the philosophy that we all have to lift the entrepreneurs, because they're focused on creating jobs, they're creating solutions to make the world a better place. They are fighting all the battles, and as a community, we have to help them. And if you don't do that work, we will not see innovations that is required to support the 50% of the population, which is the women's population. So you want both of the communities to come together. So by doing that one, having men and women participate equally, we actually create an increase in the GDP. We create increase in the number of jobs that are created. So with that, I want all of you to consider participating with us and leveraging this program that is going to be available through the partnership with SHEROES. So now I want to take a moment there is a special message from one of my co-founder, Gretchen O'Hara. She's the VP of Microsoft who leads AI and sustainability. And I want you to hear from her what the message is for India and the strong support we have got from her and the entire Microsoft ecosystem. So Vibha, let's roll the video.
Thank you.
Vibha, for rolling this video. Sari, you can come and take the stage now.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Chaitra. Wonderful to see what you've put together, how many collaborations and a wonderful ecosystem. We are inspired. And of course, we have more inspiration waiting. We have some amazing women whose journeys are highly inspirational and who are role models. They're rabble rousers, they're hustlers. And it's my pleasure to moderate this conversation. Let me start by welcoming back Chaitra into the room. And of course, now Chaitra needs no introduction. We just heard her. We have Aruna, who's really a rock star, and she has some amazing stories to share with us. Aruna is head of diversity and inclusion, global head of diversity and inclusion at Infosys. Welcome, Aruna. Wonderful to have you here. And then we have Rachna Gupta, who's really building an amazing startup, somebody I've had the privilege to know. Rachna, welcome and thank you for joining us today. So I have the easiest and the funnest job in the room. So, and of course, we are all waiting to hear from you. So why don't we start with a quick round of introductions. Aruna, will start with you. Give us a little, I know your designation doesn't do justice to who you are. So give us a sneak peek into Aruna.
Hey, thank you so much, Sairi. You are an inspiration yourself. You know, as I was listening to you, I was feverishly Googling up the work that you've done, and I was thinking, oh my God, wow. So it's fabulous to meet all of you. It's great to be on this platform. I've had the opportunity to meet Rachna very briefly, but I was just bowled over by all the magic that she's creating with her Ayurvedic solutions that are so important in today's world. Thank you, Chaitra, for this opportunity. So, Sairi, I just came back from a long cycle ride exactly 15 minutes before this call started. So, you know, I'm kind of exploring the other side of myself. I was telling Chaitra that, you know, when you post 50, then you start kind of decelerating because, you know, you don't want, you want to kind of relive your life all over again. So I'm doing distance cycling, randonneering. I'm actually practicing for a competition in the Western Ghats a little later this month. So, you know, Chaitra was asking me about the edge of my comfort zone. I'm just kind of trying to rediscover, recreate, reinvent myself. And I think sport is something that comes very, very naturally to me. I mean, that's my biggest source of energy. So I'm just going back, wearing on my shoes and doing some crazy stuff.
Wonderful, wonderful. That really sets the tone. You are a go-getter and you're a hustler. Totally wonderful. Chaitra, of course, you know, we know all the official stuff you do, but we definitely want to know, where does this whole energy come from? What excites you about building this access for economic empowerment?
So thanks, Sairi. First of all, being part of this group is awesome. And I know Aruna last year when we launched the Women in Cloud, and I was blown away with what policy work she had done in India to bring more maternity leave and giving more women to heal after the, after you have the baby. So Aruna, thank you. So the energy that I get, first is I'm a very creative human being and I love community building. So that kind of gets me going. And with COVID, it has been very, very interesting because I'm always with people and I'm basically all alone, all on the screen. So the way I actually heal myself every day is I love to cook, and I love to cook gourmet food. So I'm constantly cooking some innovative stuff or doing knitting or reading, but I have to really fuel the creative side of it all the time to do what I do every day.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And Rachna, you've obviously had a super exciting journey. I know you've made switches and now you're building something that's your passion project. And of course, I think what you're doing is also creating a lot of empowerment for your stakeholders. So tell us a little bit.
And you know that I don't even flutter a second for wearing my heart on my sleeve for Sairi and Meryl and the SHEROES team. I think today is all about you women, and this emoji is for Sairi, Aruna, Chaitra. I thank you for making me a part of this fabulous discussion. I think it's wonderful to be here. It's my son's 15th birthday today, so we're celebrating some milestone back at home, and he's been telling me, Mom, you're not yet on Instagram. You're an Insta-less mom. I said, as long as I'm not an hopeless mom, I'm fine with with being an Insta-less mom. But yeah, super excited to be here. And I think, Sairi, the whole power of community, the power of collective efforts, Chaitra, the way Sairi and you met and decided to just get into action. I think that's the power of us women, right? When we intuitively think that something's going to be right, we don't really hesitate much and we jump into action. And that's pretty much also been my foray into entrepreneurship. Like I always say that, I like to call myself an accidental entrepreneur because the intent was clear about what I want to do, but I didn't know about how it's going to happen. But like Sairi said, you put out the message in the universe and good things tend to come along. So super excited to be here and looking forward to our conversations.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I have so many questions to ask you and I have like only 40 minutes for this panel, but I also want to make sure that folks who have questions, put it in the chat window and I will make sure that I am inclusive. So please go ahead, put your questions in the chat box and, I will pick them up. But meanwhile, Aruna, I'm going to start with you. You really have seen some milestones in your corporate journey. And of course, I think policy sits at the center of change, and of course, in India, we don't talk about it enough, or at least policy is not mainstream enough, I would say. And given that you did this in middle of, first of all, tell us what you did, because I think we want to hear it from you. And then, of course, tell us a little bit about how you think about policy making driven change.
Thank you, Sairi, for this question. Some years ago, when I actually suggested a 6-month paid maternity leave, I have to confess that I was booted out of conference rooms. And everybody looked at me and he said, can somebody just din some sense into her head? As it is, women are having a hard time staying on. And now with security and all additional expenses. So women mean expenses for an organization. And now this additional thing that she wants, is this another fad of yours? And I remember making presentation after presentation, and my appeal was, even 6 months is not enough. So it's not as if the child grows up, the child is 6 months old, and then you just wash your hands off and you say, okay, bye-bye, mama's done her job. And you're a mother for life. And I think every stage, every phase, every year, every developmental milestone is so critical. And I think nature has hardwired us that way, and I'm thankful for that. And why would that then become a disadvantage or a limitation to your progress? So I remember I made a nuisance of myself, and I went to industry forums. We have the CII, for instance, in India, the NASSCOM forum, and I said, we must do this. So they said, okay, let's have a conversation. We had discussions with groups of women. Nobody really believed that anything would come of it. In fact, I have to also tell you that finally, when it went back, when the policy actually went back to industry for their comment, I think this is a step that you do. we didn't get any comment. There was deathly silence. And a very interesting way of saying, forget it. If you think you can get this through, forget it. And I realized that when legislation comes in and creates a fair playing field for all organizations, that would absolutely be the best thing that would happen. And then I went ahead and then partnered with some of our clients. Of course, a lot was happening by the, in Delhi. I was only making presentations. I was the voice, amplifying it, etc. But I think a huge credit to Mrs. Maneka Gandhi and the others who just stood their ground. India has a very interesting demography. It would be stupid if India actually ignored this demography. In fact, Catalyst research suggests that, if the participation of women in the labor force, Sari, improves by 10 percentage points, then I believe India could add about 770 billion to her GDP by 2025, just 10 percentage points. And if we could give that fillip, that little push. And then I did another thing. I said at Infosys, we're going to create infrastructure. I said it's not going to be a childcare center, but I said there are two parts to that policy. One of them is the maternity leave and the childcare. But the other important part is the integration of the mother back into the workplace. So I think it's not about the leave alone. So the integration piece required to give them a lot of confidence and courage. So we set up physical infrastructure in all our campuses and we called it the Moms Net. Would you believe? In a completely blue company where, it's such a chauvinistic patriarchal. India has all of these connotations, but I said there has to be a Moms Net. And the women returning will use this as a safe space to integrate. So it has lactation rooms, it has workstations, it has meeting rooms, and it's like a proper office, but it gives you that little, that little safety, that little confidence as you're coming back. And suddenly we had the men inaugurating the Moms Nets all over the place. Yeah. And we brought maternity to the boardrooms. An embarrassing conversation forever in Indian boardroom suddenly became a very important conversation. Yeah. So I think somewhere, when you have the courage of your conviction, the world is not standing with you. But I think the only reason we were able to pull this off is because any idiot could see that the demography of India, had actually reached this magic formula. Yeah. And people told me, you're going to be the reason why women don't get a job because no company wants this. I said, you'll be stupid to ignore 50% of the workforce. Yeah, the 50% of the demography. But of course, Sai, as you know, our challenges have just started. So it's kind of, it's kind of a step. Yeah.
Right. Look, I think, so just to add to what you said, Aruna, I think this is a strong belief that if India wants to reach the 5 trillion economy that it dreams of, we can't do it without women participating in the economy in every which way. And I think within corporates, within the ecosystem, and of course, increasing access to capital. And Rachna, that brings me to you. I know you raised capital, and you're trying to increase. You're trying to grow your business. You are a young startup. Tell us how's that been, and what do you feel as a founder who perhaps has more fundraising to follow in coming years?
So, well, I think, Sairi, and we've already had some conversations around it. And, last year, same time, it's actually been exactly a year. And I know last year, Dhanteras was a very good time, especially for the entire Gynoveda team and me, because we had just raised capital then. But it starts with a lot of your personal inhibitions, right? Because I think somewhere we tend to hold ourselves back saying, no, let me build some traction. I think I'm too early to go out there and raise funds. I think so many self-doubts and so much of fighting your inner demons, if I may say. I think that stage is actually the most difficult one, not to undermine the whole process of pitching to investors and going through that whole drill. But I think the first thing is obviously about you deciding that it's the right time for you to go out there and seek what you deserve. I've often seen, we as women, we tend to end up saying sorry a lot more often than we should. We end up saying, correct me if I'm wrong. And this all is a part of how we've been conditioned all along when it comes to, standing in the boardrooms or standing in front of investors. So I think one was obviously a lot of self-control and saying, okay, we need to go out there and get the funds into Gynoveda. And then honestly, it really doesn't matter whether it's a male investor or a woman investor. I think at the end of the day, everybody is looking at the kind of value that you are building in the business. And if we are able to project that and seek, like I said, the first thing is to ask the money that you think you deserve and not short sell your ask. So it did take a lot of, I think, overcoming my own personal challenges and inhibitions. And then there is a process. I think fundraising is partly an art and partly a science. And I'm sure you are the best person, Sairi, to build upon that. You've done that in your life. You've also mentored, and some of your tips is something that I have used in my fundraising experience. I think is come what may, if you are true to your vision and you believe in what you're building, you are going to find the right partner who believes in your vision and wants to take that shared vision forward. So I think it's about hustle, patience, and huge streaks of optimism, because you are going to get rejections by the dollops. I think 90 days that I pitched, almost every single day, I've had about close to 70, 75 rejections. And then one way is to go back totally dejected and say, okay, listen, you know what, let me just invest my own saving and then see and do it next year. And the other thing is to say, no, I want to see what will it take for me to find the person who believes in my vision. So stay at it. And it will happen, and I think that's actually a learning that's even come true today in times of COVID, right? There's no plan 2, there's no plan B. You got to do what you got to do, because literally there is no other way that you're going to be able to survive. And I think I'm all for women raising funds the way they wish to raise funds, and raising it from people that believe in their vision. And it's not only about valuation or those numbers. It's actually about what kind of value creation are you making in the business that you have chosen to be.
Wonderful. So I hear hustle and patience and keep going. And I think that's great advice. Chaitra, I think, thinking about vision, clearly, you've had a technology career. You've obviously, you're invested in this whole idea of AI and cloud-driven world, which we are living in. But horizon gaze a little bit for us, like, spell out some opportunities, for founders in the room and for, product and tech people in the room. How should we be thinking about opportunities from where we are?
Perfect, Sairi. So let me add a couple of points to what Aruna said, and then I'll come to my topic. With regards to the policy work, what Aruna did, going to the Hill, right, the Delhi, and talking about it, there's already, Canada has already implemented inclusion as part of the legislative work. So every legislative action you take, you have to make sure the inclusion of women becomes part of the narrative. And that has already been done. And I think, Aruna, with your guidance, we want to do the same thing in India. I know it's going to be an uphill battle, but when we create that integration, it'll happen. Now, when you think about technology with the 21st century and with COVID, everything is going to be online and digital. And you have already seen it, working from home, or that is the remote work. If it comes to doing a collaboration, communication, everything is digital. That means every place you look, the innovation is available. So the way I look at it is when you're working with your customer or even your prospect, ask them is what they're struggling with. I'm telling you, people management, they will be struggling with at all time. So that's a place to go and see, can you add value there? The second one is revenue preservation is another area where every company is looking for, because they don't know the old models that you had, that is vanished. So you need to create new business model and also preserve your revenue and your profitability. So that's another area to look at and see what solutions can come in. You want to recruit people now, not just in the local area, but you want to do an expansion of your company. So you want to look at where can you access talent. So that's another area where there will be a lot of innovation that will happen. And the last one is the growth, the customer access that you do. There's a lot of innovation happening in the customer access. So the events, everything is digital. So if you see today, we were networking and then we were having a streaming, right? It felt very integrated to how the events are done. So those kind of innovations are coming. So whatever the traditional models you did, if you come to a digital, you have to look at very different from how a customer needs to experience. That is smooth, access is smooth, and then you look at technologies like AI, cloud, ML, whether it's quantum technology, if it comes blockchain. At the end of the day, the money flow has to be clean, the communication flow has to be clean, and there's opportunities across the entire life cycle. So right now, like 2 years ago, it was $4.5 trillion opportunity in cloud. It's closer to $8 trillion now. So imagine we are only 1% represented in that opportunity space. Imagine how much we can come and invest in there. So that's the place, Saidi, I would say every aspect of, I would say the business processes is ready for transformation, and you have a chance to go in and do that. The digital transformation is here to stay.
Wonderful, wonderful. I think it's basically a surge of opportunities brought in by I think COVID, and of course I think everyone was preparing all their lives for this, but this moment had to happen, and here we are. Aruna, there's a question for you. How do you manage to stay good-humored in face of pushback against women-friendly policies in the corporate world? Women leaders are labeled aggressive for calling things out. What's your experience?
It's true that often the qualities that we hire for, when we see them in women, they get labeled aggressive. You could be a polished, assertive best, and suddenly you look around, the energy in the room has changed. They don't like you anymore. Yeah. But I think we've got to move beyond that hurdle. This whole piece, I'm talking here, I'm preaching to the choir, literally. Can you imagine getting disappointed by what somebody thinks of you? That has to be really the pits. So, I think it's important to have, don't worry about impressing somebody. I think stay connected with what gives you courage, energy, and confidence. And I keep saying many times, however you love what you do, don't let it be the only thing you do. So you've got to actually do multiple things in order to get energy from these various dimensions in order to be able to attend to this one, because you can just get completely burnt out. Every day is a day of rejection. It's either over the mail, over a telephone call, and you can continue to feel small and totally irrelevant. But how dare you do yourself in? That's a question I would ask women. How desperate are you to be loved and acknowledged and seek affirmation? Of course, we do seek affirmation sometimes on decisions, on comments, on whatever it is. But to have that rule who you are and how you feel every day. So this is my one thing. It doesn't make you very popular. Let me share with you. It can be a lonely place, but don't be afraid to be lonely.
We are all here. We are all here. Don't be lonely. And we're all the women who want to come across as unpopular. I think I can see that very clearly. I've made a career in that.
Yeah.
So good to know. Rachna, there's a question for you on investors and fundraising. So Shonali, who's also a founder building an amazing startup, and I hope you guys get to chat. How do you identify investors who are right for you, and the ones who did not invest, what were their key reasons? So do you want to take that?
Sure. Yeah, I would love to meet Sonali. I think also become quite nostalgic about the whole fundraise process, and at the same time reminds me that I'm probably going to go in for another one soon. But so a couple of things, right, Sonali? I think when I look back, if I would say the two reasons why there were rejections coming in, one was because we were very early stage. So like I said, it was a business decision that, in spite of literally having just handful of paying customers, I would say probably at the tip of being a little more than just a minimum viable product. We had surpassed that stage. There wasn't a product market fit that had happened. We were very early stage, and we were reaching out to some of the largest investors. So I think in terms of their thesis about which companies they invest in, we did not fit in. And the other thing very clearly was, like I said, our proposition is about Ayurveda, safe, natural products for menstrual health. And menstrual and reproductive health is still considered to be super niche. But if you look at the total addressable market, and if you look at the kind of investments that's happened in US and some of the European markets for femtech, it is huge. Whereas in India, the entire landscape of menstruation and reproductive health is still considered super niche. So I think the other question that investors had was, are you going to only stay in this space? Are you going to, have other business models coming out of it? And I think, honestly, at that point of time, very bullish in terms of being a category leader or being a disruptor in this space. So honestly, I think as founders, our obsession for being in this space and creating a dent in this space was so important. So two reasons, again, just summing up. One, I think, is reaching out very early to some of the large investors in general. And the second was, like I said, investors' belief whether is menstrual and reproductive health a large enough space for them to be able to see a high ROI. But then all well that ends well. And like I said, it's not about investors, it's about finding your strategic growth partners and people who believe in growing this together with you. So what happens in the end is good news.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. And of course, I think more power to you and more power to every hustler who's trying to build a business, and don't worry too much about categories. I think categories get built out when people start building them. And of course, I think the truth is most of the venture capital world still is sort of, it is, I think that's another space that's expanding, and I think new instruments of investing are coming in, and I do feel there will be more innovation in both capital access as well as model building. So I think, sure. There's a question for Chaitra. Why do you think access is a powerful weapon often ignored? Oh, I love that question.
Thank you, Sairi, and thank you, Viva, for asking that. So when you think about making anything happen, you have to really engage with people. That means you have to build relationships, and relationships is what creates access to opportunities. And access is like that invisible gift that only very few people actually have. And that means you have to have a heart to give, open up your Rolodex to say, okay, I can get you connected to someone and get them connected to their dreams so that they can realize it. And it's also the most important skill for influencing in the ecosystem. Whoever is actually getting you connected to the right people and you can accomplish the pieces, it becomes very easy for you to accomplish that. And for me personally is like when I do is there are multiple types of access, right? You have health access, you have access to jobs, you have access to opportunity. But when you go through the levels of access and understand is which is the one which really makes the human accomplish and be very happy, that is the economic access. And when I was growing up in Darjeeling, I got to really watch the ceremonies by Dalai Lama. So at that time, he would say, you can do all kinds of stuff, but when you can feed people and get them access to food, when you can give them access to health care or support, and if you can give them access to do something that can keep their house running, that means you have accomplished the ultimate goal of serving in the society. And that stuck with me. And when I do my work, I'm constantly making sure that people who are connecting with me, I'm not just connecting them, I'm connecting to the basic needs of people who they need. So for me, when I think about it, the best gift you can do is open up the doors for others and let them fly and lift them up. And then you'll start to see how influential you become in the community.
Lovely. I love that. I love that. No wonder we're partners. You rock. All right. One question for Rachna from Shalini, I think. Do you have women on your cap table, on your investment table? Or if they're all men, how do they relate to your product?
A question that I think I'm asked the most. So currently, we are 3 founders at Gynoveda. So there are 2 women founders. So I do have another founder on my cap table. But if your question, Shalini, specifically to investors, no, in this entire journey, I think I must have barely met about 3 or 4 women investors. And when I was going through the constant stage of rejections, I was often said that, I wish you meet more women investors and probably they will understand what you are trying to solve and how important it is and what a taboo topic you are disrupting. But in the end, the investment came in from none other than a full pack of men and men who believed in the space of wanting to do women's health, men who believed in Ayurveda, men who didn't raise a question about is how big is the market, men who clearly understood that, women go through 400 menstrual cycles on an average in their lifetime. And by virtue of their own personal experiences of having their wife, mother, daughters, they had seen the kind of trauma and the kind of difficulties women go through. So I think when it comes to the current investors that we have, never hesitated even for a second to call the word period by period. There were no using any other terms when it comes to menstruation. We talk about fertility, we talk about reproductive health, the way it should be. And so it's good that actually as women, we are changing the landscape for a lot of men. It's not just about men giving equal opportunity. I think there is gender diversity coming in now with men leading conversations around menstruation. And that's probably what Gynoveda is doing.
And Rachna, I can add to this one is when you have to do economic development, both the genders have to equally participate. When the movement of money happens, it's not just men or women, it's both have to come together because we bring a complete picture to the world. And I would say inclusion is when you have everybody participating in the right conversation. And I always ask is the best way to really help an entrepreneur is support them by buying their product, refer them, get them closer to the investor, unlock your access for them so that they can get to their destination as quickly as possible.
Absolutely. And just adding that bit, Chaitra, in fact, last week I was talking to someone and I always tell them, why don't you ask anybody if any man if he's a dadpreneur? Why only women are called as, why is this term mompreneur, right? Because it's just about being an entrepreneur. Where is the mompreneur versus dadpreneur coming in? Because at Gynoveda, my husband and I are both co-founders, and he's never been asked whether is he a dadpreneur, but I get that a lot. Are you a mompreneur? And I think that's where the divide begins. Like you rightly said, it should just be about celebrating the spirit of entrepreneurship and people driving change.
You know, another take on that, Saidi, if you'll permit me, I think the fact that men saying it so many times is also a recognition that their world is changing. So sometimes the acknowledgement comes through labels, through titles, to kind of acknowledge that, hey, you know what, this is changing.
Yes.
So
So well
smile,
said, Aruna. Yes.
smile and feel special about the fact that you're a mom and an entrepreneur. I mean, can you get luckier than that?
Best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Very well said.
Very well said.
Wonderful. Keep growing, Rachna. I think, and of course, we'll have lots more stories to hear from you. This is going to be my last question because obviously we have clearly overshot time, but we had some amazing conversations going, so I didn't want to disrupt the flow. Aruna, I'm going to start with you. And so, look, I think we are here in the middle of this partnership with SHEROES and Women in Cloud. We're sort of hoping to make some change, and you've been a change maker. And give us a little perspective on one, how do we unlock more economic value as we build up this partnership? Give us some insights on what you visualize as somebody who's been part of change, but also somebody who's sort of done her own thing, who stood her own ground, and of course who wants to see more women successful.
Sairi, there are two dimensions I would focus on. One is the women themselves, and of course the other is the ecosystem supports that we want to actually put in place. My own experience, and I'll narrate a very recent one. I've actually visualized a program with NASSCOM. We call it, we've glorified ourselves. We call it Women Wizards Rule Technology. Not very humble, but we just love the name, and we call ourselves W2RT. So the whole idea is that we're looking to create 10,000 women in the new and emerging technologies for India. We have a large training and infrastructure set up, etc., that NASSCOM runs, and they're partnering with industry to make this happen. Now, I'm in a technology company, and I suddenly sent out a note from my desk and said, we have 500 seats, specially on this program, which is going to give you industry experience. It's going to put you in touch with entrepreneurs, technologists, specialists across the world. I mean, and I was met with deathly silence. I was very, very anxious. And I don't want to I don't want to ignore this part of it. And that's why I'm giving you this example. So I said, oh my God, here's this opportunity, and no one's excited. So the next mail that I designed, actually the subject line read free, free, free. And then the headers read, guess what, all of this is free. And still nothing happened. And I felt cheap, I actually felt like I was, then, we did a few focus group discussions. And very interestingly, we had all these self-doubts, and will getting skilled and upskilling ourselves now require us to do more work? Will it change our work schedules? Will it move us out of our comfort? I'm not even sure I'm able to commit this much. I'm already struggling with what I have on my plate. I'm just giving you an example. I'm talking about educated, really people who are literally on the top of their careers. Yeah. And suddenly nobody wants to grow. So I had to go back, and I had to recognize that that was a real issue. If you look at India's dismal statistics, we hire women at roughly 50% from engineering school, 50%. However, urban employment in India is dipping despite all of this education. Yeah, and the stats continue to say this. So there's something that's happening that we're not putting our finger on. And the assumption is that all of this will vanish. Don't worry, just get after your goal, do it. And so I stopped to listen. And then, I listened. And the first time I listened to it, I got angry, in my own way. I said, oh my God, are you really sweating over something so small? And then I said, no, let me stop. Let me listen. Sairi, I rode myself on my motorcycle when I was expecting my first son, and I delivered him. The joke of it is, the security guard wouldn't let my husband take the motorcycle back. He said, no, that belongs to this madam. He said, just shut up and let me, so I remember that was a joke. But I recognize that women need support. I mean, if I use that as a template and I said, hey, come on, don't make a big deal of it. What's the matter with you? I would be making such a grave mistake. And then that's when I said, stop. It might sound laughable to you, but there's something that's happening here and no one's buying your dream. And that took 3 months, delayed the program by 3 months, but I sat down and attended to it. And I realized that is, really speaking, one of the best things I did. Because today we have 500 women on the program going great guns and actually consuming the program like they should. Yeah. And that effort was really required. So I think the first piece about there is an opportunity. You can see it, I can see it, Chaitra can see it, Rachna can see it. Rachna has taken the opportunity, but not everybody is seeing it. Not everybody is there. And there is something that's happening that is stopping people. Yeah. And if everyone thought Aruna Newton has stopped being a nuisance, now she's got this maternity bill, they got another thought coming. Because really speaking, women need inspiration to be able to go after their own dreams. It sounds funny. Yeah, but you need to create those ecosystems. And that's why, people like you are people women look up to get that kind of, and say, hey, my God, that's where I want to be one day. But to even have the courage to do that, to even think that, is so important and should not be ignored. So for every woman who says, I don't know, don't brush it under the carpet. She actually does not know. Yeah. And it's not wrong. It's not wrong to acknowledge that she doesn't know it. So I think there is this one piece about attending to the women, their aspirations, who they are, strengthening their confidence, their esteem, their sense of self. And that's a very, 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 very big piece. And that in many ways inspires confidence to do more. I mean, you will have Rachnas, you will have Sairis, you will have Chaitras, but they will be few and far between. They will not give you the numbers that you want. And it's for this reason.
I love
but
it.
The other side.
Language, you speak our heart's language, and I'm going to make sure we do something with you too soon.
Yeah, we should.
Wonderful.
I mean, I really feel passionate about this particular piece, and there is no sameness between two circumstances.
Absolutely.
And the minute you recognize that, then you will start seeing the person for who they are.
Yeah.
So I think don't ignore the component that we're actually trying to move. You can create all the magic around it, and it would just pass her by.
Yeah.
Because she's not there. Yeah.
Absolutely. I hear you. Wonderful. Rachna, what's your view?
I just want to take a minute to sink in what Aruna said, because I don't think anybody could have said it any better or brutally honest about it. So I think +1, that's the only thing I'm going to add to what Aruna said, because she said it all, and she said it with such simplicity, but in such a solid way that I think it sums up what I feel. And a large part of it, Sairi, you've also seen that getting played out in the communities, right? In SHEROES, you've seen that women bring out their vulnerabilities. And I think one thing that, if I could just add my 2 cents, would only be about being non-judgmental. I think a lot of women do not seek help, do not seek support because of fear of being judged. And fear of being judged mainly by their well-wishers and people who they believe are good for them. And, at the beginning, somebody, I think it was Chaitra who said that as an entrepreneur, you're building, a lot of people are trying to pull you down. And it comes across as a shock that a lot of people who are trying to pull you down are actually some of your closest folks. And not because they have bad intentions, it's just that because there is this whole fear of, what if you lose? And that's where that whole fear gets translated onto people who want to do something different and so I think the 3 words which are "log kya kahenge," I think has killed many dreams. and that's the one that needs to be actually nipped in the bud.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Chaitra,
I would say +1, and basically I would say is in India, the opportunity is huge, and women do need a lot of support, and that's why we are partnered with SHEROES organization, SHEROES, because we are a global organization, and we won't be able to be there at a local level to support that you need to be there. So by having these two engines working for you at a global as well as a local level, not only we change the legislative work, because there is a systematic barriers that is there in the Indian ecosystem that we all have to come together to do it. Movement is not about just, okay, let's go integrate women in entrepreneurship. Movement is when you're actually structurally changing that it becomes part of the entrepreneurship, and it's easy to walk in and not be looked down that we are an entrepreneur. They should say, wow, a woman came in and she's able to build a business. Let's invest in this journey so we actually can create more jobs. So it's more about not integration, but inclusion in how we think about it. And at the end of the day, I truly believe is when we all show up, we take care of each other, I think a world is going to be a better place for all of us. So, Sairi, and you're doing it great, and we are so excited to partner with you.
You know, I have to add, Sairi, this is not an India phenomenon alone. Different countries create layers of sophistication around the same thing, and almost pretend that almost pretend that they're managing it better. So I think we've got to start believing in ourselves, and believing that this can happen. This can happen for us. And, I think that belief is something that's going to actually drive us.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. And I think at SHEROES, we've learned to do things our way. We've done this many times now. We were the first ones to build a women-only space, because we found that when women are in women-only spaces, they open up better, faster, internet becomes safer. That's one of the things we did. Then, of course, I think we totally believe, while I know India's women workforce numbers are dropping, women's entrepreneurship numbers are zooming, and more so because I think it fits contextually in the lives that women have. It allows them to customize their lives and also personalize to what they're really interested in. And we totally believe in that. And of course, a lot of what we really do at SHEROES is just offer a safe space, and everyone's welcome, and everyone's welcome to bring their dreams of any shapes and sizes, irrespective of who they are, what language they speak, what's their age, what's their biodata. It doesn't matter. What matters is what they want to do and how we can support them. And that's really it. It's really, really simple. And, and I think that can be magical. We've seen some of that play out. And of course, we're about 21 million women on the network. We think this can become 100 if we just keep doing this. The number of women supporting other women, and the number of women who get up every morning to say, hey, today I'm going to do something for myself. Hey, today I'm going to do something for something that I love. So whether it's going out cycling, or building a company, or, building your own website, or writing a book, or whatever it is, right? So it's a me space, and I think we need more me spaces. This is one of them, and I'm so glad that it is. And Chaitra, I'm going to give you the last word on this.
First is thank you all for really embracing Women in Cloud in India, because it's very important. And I, being an Indian, this is kind of my way of contributing to the society in any shape I can. I'm always available. You can reach me on LinkedIn or through our community. But a couple of words is we are having our Women in Cloud Summit. It's a global summit. I want to invite all of you to participate. It's really a celebration of things that we do together and highlight women of their accomplishment across the world. And you get to get inspired by them. And this year, you will have the massive connections that you can have. And because we are using the Remo platforms, if you liked it, so you should consider joining. Second is, I know we have the accelerator coming. I know I only say 10 to 15, but if we get more than 50, trust me, I will fundraise for you guys to be part of the program and bring the investors next to you to have those conversations. So don't say like, I don't know if I'm ready. Just say, let me sign up, and then let the universe pave the path for me, and we are all here for you. So with that, Sairi, let's make India stand out in the global world.
Absolutely. More power to this idea, and more power to the work that you're doing. And of course, we're right here, rooting for you, supporting you in every which way. So, if we get more applications, I promise I will help you fundraise. So, let's do this. I'm going to let out a little secret because we are in a women-only space. I also hope to launch a women-only micro fund early next year, and the idea is to write checks for women. I think it's high time we did that. And
Fabulous. Awesome. That's super awesome.
Yes, I think, look, lots is happening. I want to end this by sharing a very small anecdote of change. A lot of people think that, hey, change, change doesn't happen. But of course, we have a lot of change makers here. When I started SHEROES, a lot of people would say that, maybe, this is not going to work. India's not the market. And guess what? Every year, the market just sort of doubles. Like, it literally doubles. We've gone from 10 million women online to 300 million women online, and it's still no stopping this. It's just about getting started, as they say, 1% done. It's not even 1% done. So, we're really sort of sitting on a lifetime of possibility here. And I think for a large number of people, and I think that's what's really exciting. So wonderful, everyone. And thank you everyone who came. But this is just the beginning. I hope you reach out. I hope you have conversations. I hope you send that request, you send that email, you ask for help. I hope you send in your business plans. I hope you pitch hard and build great dreams for yourself and for other women. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
And we still have networking, so I know we got extended, like we got a little extra lease. So wonderful. We're going to sort of move back to networking, right?
Right.
Thank you, Sairi. Thank you, Aruna. Thanks, Chaitra.
Sairi, it was fabulous
Wonderful.
speaking with
Thank
you. Rachna.